Hello everybody, welcome back to Real World Magic, where we make your life more magical. My name's Neil, I'm going to be your magical host, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a tour of my wand displays. All of them. I'm going to be talking about each wand individually and showing you what I've got and which ones are my favourite. So I'm going to have to ditch the green screen and introduce you to my office, which I think for non-members is probably going to be a first. So that should be fun. And then I can go around, and unfortunately I think the sound quality might get a little bit wonky, so I'm sorry about that in advance, but let's show you some of the ones I've got. Okay, so here are the first four. So this one is Minerva Mcgonagall's wand. It's really long and it's got this kind of a gemstone at the end here, so it's quite delicate. It looks like it's been turned on a lathe. It's absolutely arrow straight and it's quite ornate. It's got this banding around here. This is almost like the pommel, all of this, and it's sort of a pommel and a half really. The handle itself is incredibly short, but I would consider all of that the pommel, even though, you know, it's still part of the handle. It's quite easy to hold and it's quite long and swishy. And this is just totally black, which is pretty cool. It doesn't have very much on it. There's not sort of dents or anything, nothing to speak of anyway. And you can kind of imagine that Mcgonagall would be holding this simply because it's very regimented. Everything's perfectly symmetrical. Although it is quite sort of flowery, it's not too fussy. And so I think this is quite a good one for a no-nonsense professor like Professor Mcgonagall. Next one, again a fairly simple wand, is Professor Flitwick. Now pretty much all of this is blade. It does go up to a sort of a pommely kind of thing, but it's pretty much all just blade. So this first part is quite dark brown, whereas the rest is quite light brown. I guess you could consider that the blade and that like the pommel, but that means that there really isn't a handle. Without going into the sword theory of wands, it doesn't really matter too much. But this is like a cross-section thing. Has a slight twist in it as well. This is Professor Flitwick's wand, so he's the head of Ravenclaw House, which is why I've got all of those in their own head of houses wand display. Okay, so next up is Professor Horace Slughorn, also head of House for Slytherin, and I did have Professor Snape, but I bought him from wish.com, so I'd much rather have the genuine article, so I'll get that fairly soon, which is a little bit weird because I've got quite a few minor characters, a lot more minor than Severus Snape anyway. Now this one is incredibly thin right at the tip here, probably quite delicate, so I'm not going to try and bend it, but it does have a little bit of flex in there. I have bent it in the past. And so it's got a sort of a bendy, curly, wavy sort of effect here with some slug slime, and the reason that there's slug slime is because it is Horace Slughorn's wand. Right at the very tip here, it's almost like black nipples. So there's like a little silver circle with a black dot at the end. I think they're supposed to be eyes, but I'm going to call them black nipples. It's almost like antennae, I think that's what it's supposed to be going for. It's a nice little handle, nice swishy wand, incredibly light. Probably quite good for charms work, but obviously Professor Slughorn was the potions master. This is fake metal. It's supposed to be dotted around the edge, but here I think that's just a moulding defect, so I'm not terribly happy with that, but it is a genuine wand from Noble Collection. In general, I'm pretty happy with it, actually. I do quite like this wand. Not my favourite, but a very good wand. Okay, so next up, and to finish off the head of houses, this one is Professor Sproutswand, which is quite a non-fussy wand. The reason being, I guess, is you can kind of imagine that it's stuffed into a flower pot every now and then. This is very sort of almost barky. It looks like it's got woodworm actually in the handle here. There's holes in it, so if you've ever seen something that looks like woodworm, that's what it looks like. It looks like it's been rotted away or bitten away. You can kind of imagine that that's the sort of feel that Professor Sprout, quite an earthy woman, actually goes with. It is ever so slightly off, but not too much. It's almost symmetrical, but not quite. It's almost like it's just been grown, and I think that's probably how it's supposed to look, because she is the herbology teacher after all. This is quite a little bit lighter. It's almost the opposite of Flitwick's wand. So while Flitwick is darker at the tip and lighter at the blade, hers is lighter at the tip and darker at the blade, which is interesting. Then it comes up to a guard, but it's already started to get quite rough here at the tip of the blade, at this end of the blade, and then it gets rougher again at the top as it comes to a fairly basic pommel. So I really like this wand. I think it's very understated, but actually probably one of my favourites. I do quite like this one. Okay, so coming up to my other 10 wands display. This wand display has more wands in it than any other wand display on my walls. That wand display is a little bit of a mix. Here we start with Professor Moody's wand. Professor Moody's wand I always thought was quite short, but if you compare it with other wands, so for example even Flitwick's wand, which is quite long, it's roughly the same length. So Flitwick is one of the longer wands, but Mad-Eye Moody, certainly amongst the newer wands, is almost the longest one that's available. Now if you compare that to the Elder wand, which is 12 inches, there's really not very much in it, maybe an inch. We'll get to the Elder wand in just a second. This is Professor Moody's wand with almost like a conker at the end and some knobbly gnarled wood up here. Again, fake metal, not real metal. So this is like a metallic paint, and then almost like an alligator skin kind of wood with a bit more metal here. So this is the handle here. I can kind of imagine that he would hold it like this. I think he does actually hold it like that in the films, which is a bit of a strange way of holding a wand. You can kind of understand it because that fits really nicely into the hand like that. You just curl around. Then again, this sort of alligator skin sort of texture going back down to quite a short, stubby kind of thing. It's incredibly fat, this one, and the idea is, I think, that it transmutes into a cane in a similar way to Lucius Malfoy's cane, but this one is more sort of like a proper big thick cane. I don't know the theory of that, because it does look like he's able to cast spells with his cane. Whether he's got a cane and a wand or not, I don't really know. I don't quite understand that, but it's definitely a whole cane thing. But that's Moody's wand. One of my favourites. I really do like that one. That's kind of cool. Oh, now coming on to the first wand I ever got. This is Dumbledore's wand, in sort of the older Dumbledore's wand. So this is the Death Stick, the Wand of Destiny, the whole purpose of the 7th book, sort of. This is one of the Deathly Hallows. This is the Elder wand. It's got lots of little blobby bits, almost like acorns, I think, that sort of texture. It's got these runes here as well. So these are slightly painted runic letters. I don't think they're genuine runes. I think they're just symbols that make it look kind of witchy. So from the wizarding world, it probably means something, but I'm not really sure what it means. And it's got like this almost pulsing kind of effect, almost similar to Professor Sproutswand in as much as the holes. Yeah, apparently this is the most powerful wand in existence, so it kind of had to be the first wand I ever got. Stay. Gregorovich had it initially, then it was stolen by Grindelwald, then that was fought off him by Dumbledore, who then had it for a while before Voldemort stole it from his grave, and then Harry eventually won it, and that's the end of the story. He snapped it in the movie, but he actually returned it to Dumbledore's grave in the book. Bit of a question mark over what actually happened to the Elder Wand. But yeah, they never actually called it the Death Stick in the film, probably because it would hinder merchandising rights. Shame. Okay, next up is Seraphina Pickeries wand. This is probably the prettiest wand in my collection, and it's got some metal filigree kind of work here. This is not real metal, unfortunately, but this is like a resiny kind of gemstone sort of thing, and you can see through it just about that there is like something inside it. Now I don't know what's supposed to be inside Seraphina Pickeries wand, but I'm guessing that's the wand core there that goes all the way out of the handle and up into this pommel area up here. So I don't know. I mean, the weird thing about this is that you probably would hold onto the pommel. I wouldn't call that a handle, I would definitely call that a pommel, and I think that's almost like a handle itself. There's no real guard to speak of, it's just this little lip here, and the rest is just the blade. And again, just a fairly standard wood, but everything up here is up in the pommel. Very pretty wand, probably sort of indicative of the American style of wands in that they are quite pretty, and certainly the Fantastic Beasts wands are a lot nicer, I think, than the Harry Potter ones. Talking of fantastic beasts, here we have Nicholas Flamel's wand. I know he was introduced in the Philosopher's Stone, sort of, but he wasn't ever shown, and his wand certainly wasn't a big thing. Again, this is very pommel heavy. This is incredibly thin, and the whole idea, I think, here is that it needs to convey age, because Nicholas Flamel's like 600 something years old. It's got a bit of a guard here. Yeah, it's like the pommel and the guard sort of go into each other, not much of a handle here. And so again, you probably just hold on to the handle. It's nice because it does curl around your fingers like this, and then you just hold on to almost the blade there with your thumb. The blade is pretty nondescript. It does have quite a grain on it though, which again indicates age. And this is fake gold, which is quite interesting, what with the whole alchemy and gold thing. I think this is probably in my top 10. I really enjoy that. It's almost like a bone or a horn at the end here, and I don't know whether that's an air bubble or whether that's supposed to be there, but I have seen it on others. Next up is Newt Scamander. Now I know that a lot of people have talked about Newt Scamander's wand in the past, and that's fine, but I'm just going to do it again. So this has a tiny little bit of blue here, and it's kind of similar to the Harry Potter wand, almost, in as much as it's almost like a skin around the wand itself. A lot of people comment about the teeth marks and the scratches on the blade itself, and it's probably because he's a magical creatures kind of guy, and that he puts it in his mouth quite a lot, and the creatures themselves probably scratch it. So this is a Fantastic Beasts wand, and he is kind of the Fantastic Beasts guy. To also indicate that he's very sort of much into nature, in this quite basic handle, it curls around and it's got like a mother of pearl kind of effect in here, almost like a shell, so it's almost embedded into there. I don't know what's the core of this wand either, probably an alchemy something, but I don't know whether that's supposed to be alchemy or mother of pearl or what it is. But again, this one's a pretty easy, swishy, fairly thin and delicate wand. Now it looks initially quite plain and boring. It's quite deceiving because there is quite a lot of other stuff to talk about, such as the scratches, such as this blue inlay here, and the slight texturing, then almost like a, is it Mikado? Those sweets with the chocolate in the centre, and it's got this mother of pearl or alchemy eggshell in the side. It's a very delicate wand. It's quite a nice one. Now the other Scamander brother is Theseus Commander, and this is his wand here. Now, I'm not sure whether this is genuine metal. I don't think it is. I think this is still paint, and then sort of a tortoiseshell paint effect. I think it's a paint effect anyway. And again, some sort of fake metal up here. Yeah, it's definitely fake. You can tell by just tapping on your lips, and it's not that cold, so it doesn't sort of draw the heat away. So it is definitely still resin. This is quite a basic blade here, but again, it's textured almost to make it feel old, and I think the reason is that Theseus is quite old and stiff. He's just a bit of a boring guy, I think, and he does everything by the book. The handle is kind of, again, oldie worldy, sort of its time. Bit of tortoiseshell there, bounded at either end with some metal. I wouldn't say a boring one, but it's a very, very conventional wand, I think. Again, not really much to commend it, but it does sort of hint at Theseus's character, so I quite like that one. Next up is my absolute favourite wand. It's Young Dumbledore. Now this one has a genuine metal pommel here. It's got a metal guard here, and this is, I think, actual leather. So it just feels like it's the best done of all of the wands, and it's got this sort of twisty, almost tree root kind of. I would say that all of that is the guard. So this is very much a guard heavy wand, and then quite a thin, fairly short blade as well, all in black. So it's black and silver, which are a really good combination. I really like that. It feels really good. It feels quite light, simply because most of this is air, and so it doesn't feel as heavy as it looks. But that's quite a good thing, simply because the pommel and the handle are quite heavy, but the wand is incredibly swishy. Definitely my favourite wand, and it's got a lovely rune at the end here as well. I don't think it's a genuine rune. I think it's just the Wizarding World's interpretation of runes, or sort of real runes, sort of thing. Next up is Nigel's wand. Now Nigel's wand I was really confused because I thought it was Nigel Creevey. It isn't actually, it's someone else completely. But I think he's sort of introduced as Nigel Creevey in film 3, is it? But it turns out it's not actually Nigel Creevey. He is just called Nigel. He does have a surname apparently, but he's just called Nigel on the name tag, which I wasn't terribly impressed with. Anyway, this is sort of dotted again, kind of like the Elder Wand here, but sort of the whole texture. And considering that Nigel Creevey, if it was Nigel Creevey, which it isn't, died at the end of book 7, I was surprised that that would happen with this wand. It's got a pommel here, sort of cut short, almost like a nut on the end, but just cut short, and then almost like a cloak sort of opening here, and then just a blade. It is a really nice wand. I was very, very confused as to whose wand this actually is. I know the person or the actor in the film. I'm not really sure I know who it's supposed to be in the book, so a little bit confused about that, but nevertheless, I didn't even know that this guy had a wand, so that's fine. I've got it anyway. Okay, next up is probably my least favourite wand, not because of the wand itself really, it's more about the character, and this is Gregory Goyle's wand, simply because he's just not a very nice guy. The paint job on this, and I know I've said this before, isn't particularly good, and I think I could probably do better myself, unfortunately. However, it is one that I really did need? Maybe not need, want, because it's almost like the opposite of the Golden Trio. Is that a name? It's like the Dark Trio, Crabbe, Goyle and Malfoy. Now in the books, Crabbe, Goyle and Malfoy were the 3 antagonists in Harry's school life, at least, all the way through. Now that changed in the films because I think it was the actor who played Crabbe got done for growing and selling cannabis in the UK, and so they were distanced from the franchise, basically fired. They didn't appear in later films after. I think it was like The Order of the Phoenix was his last film, and so he was then replaced by Blaise Zabini. I mean, you can say what you like about that. This is very thick all the way through and terminated very sharply at the end there. Again, not as sharp as in you cut yourself on it, but it's very steep angle. Rather than being properly rounded, this is just cut short. It's very sort of blunt kind of feel to it. It doesn't have the same sort of swishy action as some of the more delicate ones. It's almost like a club sort of feel. Is very thick. Definitely my least favourite one, in as much as that. Next up is Alecto Caro's wand, which is like a rotten marshmallow with spikes. That's all I can say. It's got this sort of twisty tricolour thing. So there's dark, mid and light brown, but they're almost sort of muted browns, like they're greys. It's got quite a nice pommel on here with a bit of decoration at the end there, which I quite like. Yeah, these little bumps on it, almost like spots or blemishes, they actually add to it. And this is probably one of my favourite ones actually. It's got a really nice guard, a fairly, again, short blade, but that's okay. And actually Alecto Caro was quite a skilled wizard, and so yeah, I quite like this wand. I think that's probably one of my favourites, even though it's a dark wizard one. Talking of dark wizards, we have Bellatrix Lestrange's wand, which is incredibly bent. Now it's got its own wand display, let's cut to that. Then over to Bellatrix Lestrange's wand, all on its own. Wonderful little display, and it's also got the Death Eater mask. It's a mini version of the Death Eater mask over there. Okay, so it's got its own wand display, and on this side there's not very much sort of to commend it. Just ignore that for a second, because nobody really likes the trademark stuff. I know it's necessary, but no one really likes it. And then it's got this sort of bulge, almost like a bone here, with something sticking out of it, like a thorn sticking out of bone, and kind of reminds me of Voldemort's wand, but we can talk about that a bit later. And then it's got this filigree pattern engraved into it on this side, and I don't know whether that's just because that's the way the wand display unit wants to display the wand, because there's nothing on that side. There's a bit of grain, but other than that, that's it. I can see why you sort of want to almost hook like that and hold it like this, but it just feels weird to me, and aiming like that is just, no. I wouldn't want this wand. The pommel at the end here, it just gets thicker, it sort of blends in. It's quite a handle heavy wand, to be honest, and you can kind of see why Helena Bonham Carter just wants to sort of hook her hand like that, almost like she's looking down on people. I do really like that though, and I especially like the wand display. Probably one of my favourite ones. The next wand display came from Etsy.com, and I wasn't very impressed when it arrived, simply because the front screen bit was broken and it didn't look particularly good quality, certainly for the money that I paid for it. So that's the wand display. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't like it. Then we have the heads of houses in this little 4 wand display, and a bit of a spoiler at the top there. Next is Fred and George's wand, which kind of look like the front and the back of broomsticks, and it comes on its own Weasley and Weasley stand, and this is genuine brass as well, so this is actually pretty high quality. I believe they also come separately now, but they didn't at the time, which is why I've got this. And then right at the back here is Sirius's wand, so let's take that off, shall we? Let's have a look. So there's Sirius's wand with all the runes down it as well, and symbols, magical symbols. I shouldn't really call these runes, they're not particularly runic. They do look like magical symbols though, and it is probably one of the longer wands. And although, again, I bought this one from wish.com for £3, it's probably one of my favourite wands, and it's certainly one that I use in a lot of videos if I do require a wand, simply because I can wave it around, it looks good, and if it breaks it's only £3, so it doesn't bother me that much. Okay, then my next 10 wand display case, this one here. Okay, next up is Narcissa Malfoy's wand, and although it feels quite nice initially when you're holding it, I don't think I'd want to hold this for a particularly long time because it's not terribly comfortable to actually hold. It feels quite nice, but it's not terribly comfortable. I know that that seems like I'm contradicting myself, but just go with it. So the pommel at the end here is quite sort of sharp looking. Again, you're not going to hurt yourself on it. It's made of resin and all of that sort of stuff, and it's fake metal, so it's a paint effect. It's got black with these little sort of silvery dots. It's almost like a sort of mace, I suppose, like you're going to club someone over the head with it. Obviously don't. Obviously don't. Then there's the guard here, which sort of blends into the blade, again with some fake metal there, and then it goes down into a very, very simple black design. But I do really like these black and silver wands in a similar way to Dumbledore's wand. There's not really much more I can say about this other than it looks like a medieval weapon of torture, or, you know, just a mace to whack someone over the head with. I don't think I'd want to hold this if I was to use this in a lesson, because it would be hour upon hour upon hour of holding your wand and casting spells with it, and I just don't think I'd want that sort of feel on the handle. It just doesn't feel nice to me. So why it chose Narcissa Malfoy, I've no idea. But as a display piece, it looks great. Next up is Severus Snape's wand. This one is slightly bent, and the reason being is I bought this from wish.com. I am going to get the genuine one very soon. But in the meantime, this moulding isn't actually too bad, and I have reviewed it previously on this video. I would say this isn't necessarily one of my favourite ones, simply because it's just very basic. Nearly all of that is sort of embellished handle with no pommel whatsoever, actually. It sort of tapers off, almost like it was originally part of the blade. And then all of that is handle. There's not really any guard there either to speak of. And then huge amount of blade. Again, it's quite thick, almost like Gregory Goyle's wand, but it does at least taper at the end. And as we know, Severus Snape was quite a skilled wizard, a very skilled wizard in fact. Yeah, I do like it. I can't wait to get the real one and the name tag, and then I can put it all on display properly. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with that one. Maybe just give it away. Okay, next one is Ron's wand. Now, all of the ones on the Etsy wand display don't have name tags, which is why they're all where they are. The reason being is that I bought the Ollivander replicas because I thought they would be better. And I didn't realise that only the character ones come with name tags, which I think is a massive shame. Bad Noble Collection. Hopefully they'll sort that out at some point and you'll be able to buy the name tags separately. otherwise you're just going to have to buy the character wands as well, which I think is a huge shame, bit of a waste of time, bit of a waste of resin and bad for the ecology and all that sort of stuff, so yeah, not great. Anyway, this is Ron's second wand, and it looks kind of similar to Harry Potter's wand, which I will get to in a moment. We do have it, don't worry. It's almost like a knotted, rooty, barky kind of top here. Maybe not knotted, but certainly sort of rough. But I think that sort of suits Ron's character, because he is quite similar to Harry in a lot of ways. This I really do like. So the way it's almost sort of been chiseled away to form into a rough wand shape, and then it's sort of sanded at the end to turn it into quite a sort of smooth tip at the end there. But this is almost like it's been just chiseled away to make it sort of almost bumpy and wavy, but I really do like that. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's really nice. And then it's got this sort of thing here, which again, Harry Potter's wand has got as well. So let's go on to Harry Potter's wand while we're at it. This again doesn't have a name tag, simply because I chose to go for the whole genuine looking wand with the gossamer and all of that sort of stuff. So similar sort of thing here, but a bit further down the blade is Harry Potter's wand. So this is almost like a skin or like a central part of the heartwood before terminating in quite a neat looking tip. This is almost very barky, quite knotty, and again, it's not necessarily one I want to hold for a particularly long time, simply because that's very rough. It's got a rough guard here as well, with the occasional knot and things on the handle there. This is made of holly, apparently. The replica obviously isn't, it's made of resin, but it does look pretty realistic. Yeah, let's face it, it's probably one of my favourite ones, simply because it is a Harry Potter wand, the Harry Potter wand. So let's put that one down for a moment and then move from one of my favourites to my absolute worst, in quite a few different ways. This is Professor Umbridge's wand. I originally ordered this from Wish.com as Professor Mcgonagall's wand, and I was initially really upset with it, simply because it looks absolutely nothing like Professor Mcgonagall's wand. This is what I was expecting, this is what I received. So they got the professors muddled up. This one's actually Professor Umbridge's wand. Probably the most universally detested character certainly in literature, but probably also in film as well. Everyone says that she's worse than Voldemort, and I think in a lot of ways she probably is. Highly, highly lathed, and it's got lathed and loathed. Yeah, that's the thing. So it's got lots of little ridges here, tons and tons and tons and tons of them. Now, she was quite a skilled witch, but she was also horrible. Now, if you compare this one to something like Flitwick's wand, which is one of the longer ones, then it's tiny. It's absolutely tiny, considering that this was for a dwarf and this is for Professor Umbridge. You would think that it would be the other way around, but absolutely not. So Umbridge is described in the books as a toad. Yeah, she likes pink, so there's this little pink gem, which you probably won't be able to see, especially even up against the green, even if I turn it on. But it's got this tiny little gem in here. And for a Wish.com wand, that's actually very good. It was only £3, but I do want the whole display case, similar to Bellatrix's. And it comes on like this pink shield thing. I'll leave a picture up there. I do quite like it, considering it's only £3, but it's not anywhere near my favourite. Okay, so these I'm not actually going to move, simply because putting on these name tags takes ages. There's Neville Longbottoms up at the top here, with a nice twisty turny bit, and I know I've done a review fairly recently on my channel. If you want to have a look at that, I think it's, where is it? Up there. So have a look at that. Seamus Finnegan, pretty much the same thing. I've done a review and an unboxing just up there. Then you've got Hermione Granger's wand, which is pretty awesome. I do have a Wish.com version of this, but I do prefer the real one. This has got vines and all of that sort of thing, and I've done a couple of different wand unboxings and reviews and stuff like that on my channel about that in the past. Then we've got Remus Lupin, one of my favourite ones, simply because it's really, really simple. It's just got quite a large pommel there, quite a nice little handle in a similar way to the other one that I've just reviewed, the Ron Weasley wand. It's got that same sort of effect on the handle. A very long, simple blade there. Then we've got Fleur Delacour, which could not be more different. It's just very, very flowery. similar to what Fleur's character is like in the book, I guess, and quite a lot of decoration, and yeah, almost looks like a fleur de lis, which is a symbol of peace, I believe. Then you have Parvati Patil, which has got like this dragon wing kind of thing, and I reviewed all these in my Christmas unboxing, which is up here. Then we've got Ginny Weasley, so partner of Harry Potter, eventually. Very, very just black, entirely black, with a couple of different patterns. So a very simple blade, a bit of a guard sort of pattern, then a handle sort of pattern, and then the pommel's pretty much back to normal. So that's one of my favourites, I think, is very simple. And then, obviously, we have to have the quintessential Lord Voldemort wand. There it is. Very much like a bone, and I know that I've done a review comparing the Wish.com ones and the new ones up here. So that is my wand collection, my wand display. I'm now going to start showing what my wand displays look like on the wall. So there's that one that you've just seen. Okay, so next up then is Hagrid's wand. Now it's not really a wand at all. I'm just checking whether or not I'm in focus or in shot here, because it's definitely the biggest wand in my collection. I do want Lucius Malfoy's cane at some point, but I think it's £160 and I can't really splurge on that just yet. But this is the pink umbrella that Hagrid used to turn Dudley, or at least give Dudley a tail. Didn't turn him fully into a pig, but he did give him a tail. It is fully working. I could open this up. I have in the past on this video, I think, up here, but I'm not going to do it now simply because I don't want to open it indoors. It's got a few little occlusions, I would say, these little dents here. This is genuine metal here, this banding, which is quite nice. I would say that's a pommel, or the yeah, I guess it's a pommel, I suppose. Then there's a very long handle, but then Hagrid has very long hands, or big hands. Then there's more metal at the end there. Again, you can tell just by putting it against your lips, it does actually take all the heat away. It is definitely metal. A nice little sort of hidden secret of this one is that you can open it up. You can take that off this little button. Oh, you know what, let's just do it. So you can open it up. It's got the proper clasp. You could indeed use that as a little parasol, maybe not as a proper umbrella, because it's not waterproof. It's got the little Harry Potter tag there. I don't ever like these things because it sort of takes away the magic, but I can see why they need to do it. And then it comes down again. It's a lovely, lovely replica, and I really like it. And then, of course, if you hide the tag away like that, no one will ever know. It's just a pink umbrella. That's a wand, and that's Hagrid's wand. Okay, so if I was to put 3 wands in a top 3, I would pick Hagrid's wand, which I flipping love. I don't ever consider it really a wand. I probably should, but I don't, and I don't know why. Mainly because I guess it's just an umbrella, isn't it? But not just an umbrella. It's pretty awesome. These are 3 that I've got, by the way. I also do want Lucius Malfoy's cane. I also want Mad-Eye Moody's cane, which I don't necessarily think is out yet. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I don't think it is. So I like Hagrid's wand, young Dumbledore's wand, and Nicholas Flamel's wand. Those are my favourite 3. What are your favourite 3? Let me know down in the comments. Also, do click the like button, subscribe, ding that bell button to be notified of future uploads. You can join this channel for awesome benefits, and Frank will tell you a bit more about that in just a moment. But thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again next time with some more magical awesomeness. But until next time, as always, stay magical! And in today's video, I'm going to be talking out of my tongue. So I'm going to have to ditch the green screen. I can't click properly. Dark brown, whereas the rest is quite light brown. Okay, so next up then is Hagrid's wand. I almost said Harry's wand. No, let's not do that. Next is Ron. No, it isn't. And is a bit of a mishmash. Mismatch. I can't even say it. Bit of a mishmash. Why is that a tongue twister? Weird.
Hello! Remember to like this video, comment if you have anything interesting to say, subscribe and ding that bell to turn on notifications of next time Neil goes live or uploads anything. You can also become a patron at Patreon or join as a member of this channel by clicking the link below that looks like this. Members get special benefits like a wizard apparition license, 10% off everything in the shop, and I'll even say hello to you by name on the live stream every Saturday night at 6 PM UK time. Membership starts at £1.99 per month. It's well worth it. You get loads of peanuts for that. That's all for now. See you soon.
Please subscribe to Real World Magic. While you're there, click the bell button to be notified of future uploads, and have a look at all of my social stuff. Remember to donate on Patreon if you really liked it, and I'll see you again next week.